The 1970s were a roller coaster for GM muscle cars, where legends were born, but many were left in the dust. From powerhouse machines to disappointing flops, check out the best and worst of GM's muscle car era. Let's start the list with 7 worst muscle cars. Number 7, 1975 Chevrolet Camaro. The 1975 Chevrolet Camaro, while still a recognizable part of muscle car history, faced a number of challenges that made it one of the worst cars of the 70s. The golden age of muscle cars was already over by this time, and the Camaro had to adapt to the new reality of stricter emissions regulations and rising fuel concerns. As a result, the car's once powerful engine options were significantly downgraded. In terms of performance, the 1975 Camaro's engines were disappointing. The most powerful engine available was the 350 cubic inch V8, which only produced a mere 155 horsepower. This was a huge drop from previous years, and it left the Camaro struggling to keep up with the performance standards set by earlier muscle cars. The loss of the Z28 package in 1975 was another blow to the Camaro's reputation. The Z28 was known for its power and handling, but with its removal, the Camaro lost much of its aggressive edge. Moreover, the Camaro's handling was not as sharp as it once was. With the introduction of more comfortable and fuel-efficient options, the Camaro became less about performance and more about compromise. The car's ability to handle the road well was diminished, and driving it no longer gave the same thrilling experience that earlier models had. While it still had a stylish design, the Camaro's handling and performance were far from what muscle car fans had come to expect. Another issue was the introduction of the catalytic converter, which aimed to meet new emissions standards. While this change was necessary, it took away from the Camaro's power and driving excitement. The introduction of this system meant that the engine was further restricted, making the car slower and less fun to drive. The once mighty Camaro had become a shadow of its former self. Inside, the car's interior felt outdated and lacked the luxurious touches that other cars in its class offered. While there were some improvements, like air conditioning and power door locks, these were not enough to make up for the car's declining performance. The Camaro's appeal as a muscle car was fading, and its reputation as a high-performance vehicle was slowly being erased by the changes made to meet new regulations. Overall, the 1975 Chevrolet Camaro, with its reduced power, poorer handling, and declining reputation, was a far cry from the muscle car legend it once was. It was a tough time for performance cars, and the Camaro felt the full effects of that transition. Number 6, 1974 Pontiac GTO. The 1974 Pontiac GTO is considered one of the worst cars of the 70s, due to the significant loss of the muscle car's original appeal. By this time, the GTO had lost much of its power and excitement. When the GTO first launched in 1964, it was a powerful car that quickly became a favorite among muscle car fans. However, by 1974, the GTO had been reduced to a shadow of its former self. One of the biggest issues with the 1974 GTO was its performance. Unlike previous models that had powerful V8 engines, the 1974 GTO was only offered with a 350 cubic inch engine that produced just 200 horsepower. This was a huge drop in performance, as earlier GTO models could produce much more horsepower, making them fast and thrilling to drive. The loss of larger, more powerful engine options made the GTO sluggish and underwhelming. Moreover, the body of the 1974 GTO was based on the smaller X-Body Ventura platform, which made the car feel less like the classic muscle car it once was. It was now more of an economy car with a muscle car badge. The GTO package included sporty options like dual exhaust, Rally 2 wheels, and special decals, but these couldn't make up for the fact that the car's power had been drastically reduced. The GTO's design had also become less aggressive, with a less exciting overall look compared to the older, more muscular Chevelle and Camaros. The handling and performance also suffered from these changes. The GTO now had a softer suspension and smaller tires, making it less stable and less fun to drive. While it still had some sporty elements like a floor-mounted shifter and a shaker hood scoop, these features couldn't mask the fact that the car was no longer a performance powerhouse. The 4-speed manual transmission was available, but even that couldn't make up for the underpowered engine. Additionally, the 1974 GTO was not as popular as its predecessors. Only about 7,000 units were produced, and the GTO was discontinued after just 1 year of this new design. Many car enthusiasts saw it as a desperate attempt to keep the GTO name alive, but it didn't have the same appeal as earlier models. Its performance was disappointing, and its design didn't live up to the muscle car legacy. The 1974 Pontiac GTO ended up being one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s, as it lacked the power and excitement that had made the GTO famous. With its underwhelming engine and outdated design, it didn't stand a chance against the muscle cars that came before it. Number 5, 1972 Oldsmobile 442. The 1972 Oldsmobile 442 is considered one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s, mainly due to its disappointing performance and the significant changes that hurt its original appeal. The 442, which had once been a powerful and iconic muscle car, was no longer the same powerhouse it had been in previous years. By the time it hit the market in 1972, the muscle car era was already winding down, and the 442 suffered as a result. First, the performance took a major hit. In past years, the 442 had been known for its big engines and fast speeds. However, by 1972, the available engine options had been significantly reduced. The 442 now only offered a 350 cubic inch V8 engine, which produced a mere 180 horsepower. This was a huge drop in power compared to earlier versions that offered much larger engines with higher horsepower. Even the optional 455 cubic inch engine was a far cry from the high-performance engines of the past, now producing only 250 to 270 horsepower, which was disappointing for muscle car enthusiasts. The performance was further dampened by the fact that many of the features that made the 442 special had been scaled back. For example, dual exhaust was no longer included with the 442 package, and buyers had to pay extra for it, while the 442 packages still included a few sporty touches like special striping, a unique grille, and sports mirrors. These cosmetic changes couldn't make up for the lack of power and excitement that had once defined the 442. In addition, the 442's handling was not what it used to be. The car had a new suspension system, but it didn't offer the same sharp handling that earlier models had. The new system was softer and made the car feel heavier and less responsive on the road. This change was another step away from the car's muscle car roots. The 442 was also affected by the changing automotive landscape. The rise of stricter emissions regulations, higher insurance premiums, and rising fuel costs forced many car manufacturers, including Oldsmobile, to reduce the power of their vehicles. As a result, the 442 became a shadow of its former self, lacking the raw power and excitement that had made it a standout in the muscle car world. Overall, the 1972 Oldsmobile 442 was a major disappointment, with its reduced power, weaker performance, and loss of muscle car charm. While it still had some of the appearance features of its predecessors, it lacked the spirit and excitement that had made the 442 so beloved in earlier years. Number 4, 1973 Chevrolet Chevelle. The 1973 Chevrolet Chevelle SS had a lot of issues that made it one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s. When it was first introduced, the Chevelle had been a top contender in the muscle car world. But by 1973, the fun was quickly fading. Thanks to stricter emissions regulations and rising fuel prices, the power and performance that defined the Chevelle in previous years were nowhere to be found. In terms of performance, the Chevelle SS was significantly detuned. The 350 cubic inch V8 engine, which once had impressive power, was now rated at just 145 horsepower with a 2-barrel carburetor. Even the more powerful 454 cubic inch V8 only delivered a disappointing 245 horsepower. This was a far cry from the performance of earlier models, and it left muscle car enthusiasts disappointed. The automatic transmission was standard, though a 4-speed manual could be ordered for the 454 engine, but even then, the car struggled to live up to the muscle car legacy. Another issue was the car's handling. With the introduction of large, heavy crash bumpers and a bulkier design, the Chevelle SS became less nimble on the road. The thick B-pillars and fixed rear side window glass made the car look outdated, and the driving experience felt heavy and slow compared to earlier, more agile muscle cars. The car's new colonnade styling, which featured two-door coupes with fixed rear windows, was also criticized for being less stylish than previous models. It simply lacked the sharp, aggressive lines that the Chevelle had once been known for. Additionally, the introduction of the catalytic converter, which was required by new emissions laws, further limited Chevelle's performance. This change made the engine less powerful and affected the car's acceleration. The Chevelle, once a fast and exciting car, now felt sluggish and unresponsive. It seemed that every modification made to meet government regulations took away from the car's charm and spirit. The Chevelle SS package in 1973, while still carrying the Super Sport badge, was far from what it used to be. The car was more about compliance with regulations than about thrilling performance. It was clear that the golden era of muscle cars was coming to an end, and the 1973 Chevelle SS was a reflection of that. It may have had the classic SS badge and some stylish features, but its lackluster performance and outdated design made it one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s. Number 3, 1975 Pontiac Firebird. The 1975 Pontiac Firebird, especially in the Formula trim, is often considered one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s due to several issues that affected its performance and appeal. While it was marketed as a sports car, the reality was far less thrilling compared to its predecessors. The Firebird formula was equipped with a 350 cubic inch V8 engine that produced just 175 horsepower. This was a major disappointment, especially when compared to the powerful engines in earlier models, and it significantly lowered the car's overall performance. Moreover, the Firebird's design and engineering were hindered by the changing automotive landscape of the time. By the mid-70s, rising fuel costs and stricter emissions regulations forced automakers to downgrade the performance of their cars, and the Firebird was no exception. The once aggressive styling was softened, and the handling and acceleration were nowhere near the level of muscle cars from earlier decades. Despite the Formula trim's sporty look, it struggled to live up to the expectations set by its predecessors. The car's quality also suffered due to the materials used at the time. The paint was of poor quality, as was common with many cars in the mid-70s. The bright Sunstorm yellow paint faded quickly, and although the car wasn't driven much, exposure to sunlight still took its toll. This fading, along with other signs of age, made the Firebird look less appealing compared to its earlier models. Another significant issue was the driving experience. Although the Firebird formula was still relatively stylish, it lacked the thrill and power that made earlier muscle cars exciting to drive. The 350 V8 engine, which was meant to provide a sporty feel, struggled to deliver enough power to make the car feel fast. With a heavy body and underwhelming performance, the Firebird couldn't match the excitement that its nameplate once promised. Even though it had a good amount of attention put into its restoration, the 1975 Firebird formula never fully recovered from its poor start. The car's powertrain was left mostly untouched, but the drivetrain's limited capabilities continued to hold it back. With its outdated performance and weak engine, the 1975 Pontiac Firebird formula became one of the most disappointing muscle cars of the 70s. Number 2, 1971 Buick GS 455. The 1971 Buick GS 455 is often seen as one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s. By this time, muscle cars were already starting to lose their edge, and the GS 455 was no exception. One of the biggest issues was the drastic drop in horsepower. Due to new government regulations on emissions, Buick had to lower the compression ratio of the 455 cubic inch V8 engine to 8.5:1, which caused the horsepower to fall from 350 to just 315. Even with the extra cost Stage 1 package, which improved the engine slightly, the performance was still disappointing compared to previous models. This reduction in power made the GS feel dull, especially when compared to its earlier versions. Even with the dual exhausts, functional hood scoops, and wide oval tires, the car simply didn't have the same punch it once had. It was clear that Buick was trying to maintain the car's muscle car image, but the loss of horsepower and performance made it feel less exciting to drive. Another issue was the car's handling. Although it was equipped with heavy-duty springs and shocks and a front stabilizer bar, the GS 455 still struggled to deliver the sharp handling that muscle car fans had come to expect. The suspension upgrades weren't enough to compensate for the power loss, and the car felt heavier and less responsive on the road. This made driving the GS 455 less enjoyable, especially when compared to the more agile muscle cars of previous years. The changes didn't stop with performance. The styling, although still aggressive with its hood scoops and sporty look, couldn't hide the fact that the GS 455 was no longer the powerful machine it once was. Despite all the efforts to maintain the muscle car's appearance, the reality was that the car was no longer a true muscle car. The power was simply not there, and the driving experience was far from exciting. Sales of the GS 455 reflected these issues. The once popular muscle car saw a significant drop in sales, with numbers falling by more than 50% for the year. This was a clear sign that the muscle car market was shifting, and the 1971 Buick GS 455, with its underwhelming performance, failed to keep up with the competition. The loss of power, poor handling, and lack of excitement made the GS 455 one of the worst muscle cars of the 70s. Number 1. 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass. The 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass, while still popular in its time, is often considered one of the worst cars of the 70s due to its bizarre performance and underwhelming features. The car was designed with comfort and style in mind, but it struggled to maintain the muscle car legacy that the Cutlass once had. The Cutlass had become more about luxury than performance, and this shift was a major disappointment to those who once appreciated the car's power and speed. One of the biggest issues with the 1976 Cutlass was its engine performance. The 350 cubic inch V8 engine was capable of only 170 horsepower, which was a huge drop in power compared to earlier versions of the Cutlass. This lower horsepower made the car sluggish and less exciting to drive, especially when compared to other muscle cars on the market at the time. While it was a smooth cruiser, it didn't have the same thrilling acceleration or high-speed performance that muscle car fans had come to expect from the Cutlass name. In addition, the car's suspension and handling were not as sharp as those of its predecessors. The independent coil spring front suspension and coil spring rear suspension provided a comfortable ride, but they didn't give the car the sporty feel that earlier versions of the Cutlass were known for. The handling was soft and lacked the responsiveness that many drivers looked for in a muscle car. It felt more like a regular family car than a performance vehicle, which disappointed many muscle car enthusiasts. Another major downside was the car's styling. While it had a stylish and clean look, the exterior design was no longer as aggressive or bold as the Cutlass models from earlier years. The front end was redesigned to be more aerodynamic, but it lost some of the classic muscle car appeal. The rear end, while practical, lacked the visual excitement that made the older Cutlass models stand out. This lack of striking design made the car less appealing to buyers who wanted something that looked as fast as it was. The interior of the 1976 Cutlass, although luxurious, also suffered from a lack of excitement. The white vinyl seats and carpeting, while clean and well kept, didn't add any sporty flair to the car. The dash and interior features felt outdated compared to other cars on the market at the time. Overall, the 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass was a far cry from the muscle car legend it once was. With its lack of power, softer suspension, and more conservative styling, it became one of the least exciting cars of the 70s. The shift from performance to luxury left the Cutlass feeling like a shell of its former self. Number 6. 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle LS6. The 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle LS6 was one of the best muscle cars of the 70s. This car had a powerful 454 cubic inch V8 engine that delivered 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. With this much power, the Chevelle could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.8 seconds. Its top speed reached 108 miles per hour, which made it a true contender on the road. Although the fuel economy was not great, only 9 miles per gallon, the Chevelle was built for speed, so it was all about performance. Now, let's look deeper under the hood. The LS6 came with an 800 cubic feet per minute Holley 4-barrel carburetor that was mounted on an aluminum intake manifold. This helped improve the car's power and performance. The car also had forged aluminum pistons and a forged steel crank. The compression ratio of the LS6 was an impressive 11.25 to 1. In addition, the cowl induction hood was designed not just for looks, but to bring cool air directly to the engine, giving it even more power. As for the design, the 1970 Chevelle was bold and aggressive. The car's rounded fenders from previous years were replaced with a stronger and tougher front end. It also had rectangular parking lamps placed just below the headlights, giving it a sharper look. A sleek, sharp bodyline ran from the front to the back of the car, making it look both fast and powerful. Inside, the interior was updated with a new dash design that gave the car a mix of sporty and classy style. Moving to the performance aspect, the LS6 was not just about looks. This car was fast, posting quarter-mile times under 14 seconds, while reaching speeds over 100 miles per hour. Its power on the track was unmatched, and its road presence was undeniable. The Chevelle LS6 was the perfect balance of speed, power, and style, and it truly stood out among the other cars of the time. Overall, the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle LS6 was more than just a car. It was a legend of its time. It combines cutting-edge technology with bold design, offering unmatched performance for muscle car lovers. Its impact on automotive history is still remembered today, and it remains one of the best cars of the 70s. Number 5, 1974 Buick Apollo GSX. The 1974 Buick Apollo GSX may not be the first muscle car that comes to mind, but it definitely deserves a spot among the best of the 70s. Unlike some other cars of the era, the Apollo GSX wasn't all about raw power. Instead, it focused on balanced performance, which made it unique. Under the hood, the Apollo GSX had a 350 cubic inch V8 engine. This engine produced 175 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, giving the car a smooth and enjoyable ride. With its 3-speed manual transmission, the Apollo GSX could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 10.3 seconds, cover the quarter mile in 17.5 seconds, and reach a top speed of 119 miles per hour. While it wasn't the fastest car on the road, it was still fun to drive and offered a comfortable experience. In terms of design, the Apollo GSX stood out with its classic look. Buick chose to keep the styling simple yet stylish, giving the car a confident stance. The Apollo's design closely resembled the Chevrolet Nova, which was known for its sharp and timeless lines. In 1974, Buick added the GSX package to give the Apollo a sportier look. This package didn't include performance upgrades but focused on style. It featured subtle side stripes and a GSX decal, making the car look sporty without being too flashy. The Apollo GSX didn't have oversized wheels or a lot of wild changes, but it still had an attractive and clean design from every angle. The 1974 model was especially important because it was the last year Apollo was available as a two-door model. This made it a bit nostalgic for those who loved the car. While the Apollo GSX didn't have the fastest acceleration or highest top speed, it captured the essence of the era. It wasn't loud or showy. Instead, it was understated yet still stood out in its own way. The car's charm was in its simplicity, offering enough performance to keep it fun while providing plenty of style. When it came to features, the Apollo had a lot to offer. It came with a semi-closed cooling system, manual brakes with finned front drums, and a coil spring front suspension with a stabilizer bar. These features ensured the car had a smooth and comfortable ride. Buick also made sure the Apollo's cabin was quiet, using sound-deadening materials, a flow-through ventilation system, and full foam seats. For extra durability, the car even had reinforced front bumpers. Let's talk about other options. The Apollo gave buyers choices like variable ratio power steering, power brakes, and climate-controlled air conditioning. For those who wanted more style, there were Deluxe wheel covers, a custom vinyl top, and color-coordinated body-side moldings. The GSX package also gave the Apollo a distinct look with its blacked-out grille, unique striping, and white vinyl bucket seats with red interior accents. It came in red or white, and buyers could choose between a straight 6 or the 350 V8 engine. Number 4, 1971 Oldsmobile 442 W30. By 1971, muscle cars were starting to lose some of their power, especially at General Motors. Emissions rules and rising gas prices were affecting many cars, but Oldsmobile managed to keep the muscle car spirit alive with the 1971 Oldsmobile 442 W30. This car mostly stayed the same as the previous year, with only a new grille and taillight inserts. However, the biggest changes happened under the hood. The 455 cubic inch V8 engine saw its compression ratio drop because of new emission standards. This meant it now ran on regular fuel instead of premium. Even though the engine lost some of its power, it still had enough to keep drivers excited. The standard 442 lost some horsepower, dropping from 365 to 340. This was because of a milder camshaft and other adjustments. However, the W30 option still had special features. It included a blueprinted engine, a hotter camshaft for manual transmission models, an aluminum intake, a low-restriction air cleaner, and a distinctive air induction hood. Despite the slight drop in horsepower, the W30 still had excellent torque, which is important for quick acceleration. The 1971 Oldsmobile 442 W30 was a rare car, with less than 1,000 models built that year. Out of those, only 110 were convertibles. Although the 442 would not be as strong in future years, the W30 option remained a favorite among muscle car enthusiasts. It was known for its smooth power and solid performance, making it a beloved car in the muscle car world. Even with the compression ratio change, the 442 W30 still delivered great performance. It had excellent factory blueprinting and strong torque, which made it a standout car. The 1971 model was special because it marked the last year the 442 would be its own line at Oldsmobile. Number 3, 1971 Pontiac GT37. The 1971 Pontiac GT37 is one of the best muscle cars of its time, even though it's often overlooked. The GT37 is based on the Lehmans and is almost the same as the 1971 GTO, but it is much more affordable. A GTO from the same year could cost 6 figures, while a GT37 in great condition could be bought for under $40,000. Despite the price difference, the GT37 had the same exciting performance as the GTO. Under the hood, the GT37 had a powerful 455 cubic inch V8 engine that produced 335 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. This engine gave the car amazing speed, allowing it to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.9 seconds. It could finish a quarter mile in 14.2 seconds and had a top speed of 117 miles per hour. This made the GT37 just as fast as more expensive muscle cars. What makes the GT37 stand out is that it came with the same legendary Pontiac 455 cubic inch V8 engine found in the GTO, but at a much lower price. The GT37 was marketed as the GTO for kids under 30, which meant it was made for younger people who wanted a powerful car but couldn't afford the high price of a GTO. This made the GT37 a great option for anyone who wanted the same power and speed as a GTO but at a fraction of the cost. The GT37's 4-speed manual transmission made it a fun car to drive, offering a true muscle car experience. The car's design was also stylish and sleek, making it attractive to people who wanted a cool car without spending too much money. Although the GT37 was only around for a couple of model years, it left a lasting impression because of its power, performance, and affordability. Overall, the 1971 Pontiac GT37 is an underrated muscle car that offers incredible performance and style at a much lower price than the GTO. With its powerful engine, fast acceleration, and fun driving experience, the GT37 proves that you don't have to spend a lot of money to own a true muscle car. Number 2, 1970 Plymouth Cuda 446. The 1970 Plymouth Cuda 446 is one of the best muscle cars of the 70s, standing out with its bold, plum-crazy purple color. Under the hood, it packs a powerful 440 cubic inch engine, equipped with a 6-pack carburetor system that generates 390 horsepower. This engine is paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and the famous pistol grip shifter, making it an exciting car to drive. Not only is the Cuda a powerhouse, but it is also a rare collector's item. In 1970, Plymouth offered a variety of engines, but the 446 with the 6-pack carburetor was among the most powerful. There were also 383 cubic inch V8 and the iconic 426 Hemi options, but the 446 stood out for its incredible performance. This muscle car rides on a 106-inch wheelbase and weighs around 3,100 pounds, offering a balanced mix of power and handling. This particular Cuda is especially rare. Only 48,800 Barracudas were built in 1970, and just 548 of them were convertibles, making this car even more special. It is a true treasure for collectors and car enthusiasts alike. Furthermore, in the year 2000, this Cuda was meticulously restored. The restoration included a fresh paint job, new components like carburetors, a trunk lock, and a fuel sending unit, as well as upgrades such as a new ignition system and radiator hoses. Inside, the Cuda features black vinyl bucket seats, a Hurst pistol grip shifter, and a classic wood-rimmed steering wheel, which adds to its muscle car charm. The odometer reads just over 800 miles, and while the total mileage is unknown, this Cuda is in great condition and ready for the road. Its elegant design, paired with its powerful performance, makes the Plymouth Cuda 446 a true muscle car icon of the 70s. The rarity and the performance of this car, along with its stunning restoration, make it one of the best cars of the 70s. It captures the essence of the era with style and power that still impresses today. Number 1. 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am 455 Super Duty. The 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am 455 Super Duty is one of the best muscle cars ever made. While the golden age of muscle cars was winding down after 1971, Pontiac didn't stop making incredible cars. The Trans Am Super Duty, with its powerful 455 cubic inch V8 engine, was one of the last true muscle cars from that era. Although the engine was a bit toned down in 1973, because of new regulations, it still packed an impressive punch, with 310 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. This powerful engine, combined with a 4-speed manual transmission, allowed the Firebird Trans Am to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds. It could complete a quarter mile in 13.8 seconds and reach a top speed of 113 miles per hour. These numbers made the Trans Am Super Duty a serious competitor on the track, even at a time when many other muscle cars were losing their power. The design of the second-generation Firebird, first introduced in 1970, was so stunning that Pontiac used it well into the 1980s. In 1973, a few subtle changes to the front end of the Firebird made it look even more amazing. When combined with the Trans Am package and the Super Duty 455 engine, the result was one of the most perfect muscle cars of its time. Its aggressive yet sleek design and powerful performance made the Trans Am Super Duty stand out. Pontiac had a huge impact on the muscle car world, starting with the GTO in 1964 and ending with the Trans Am Super Duty in 1973. This car was the last of a legendary era, and it seemed only fitting that Pontiac would close the golden age of muscle cars with such an iconic vehicle. The Firebird Trans Am 455 Super Duty was not just fast. It also had style and presence, making it one of the best cars of the 70s. With its combination of power, design, and performance, the 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am 455 Super Duty remains a symbol of the classic muscle car era. Thanks for checking out our look at the best and worst 70s GM muscle cars. Drop a comment, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content.